we have up here 2 Nissans that both don't work. So the only thing wrong with the old A-frame Nissan, which you guys love, which goes like the clappers, is that it had a broken axle. So what we've done is this is the back end of one of the Nissans that's not working. And this is what we pulled off one vehicle. We've pulled out the axle from in here and we've put it onto the other vehicle, put that all together again. So it's been a learn by losing experience in pulling out the full back end of one Nissan, taking out the axle, putting it into the other one, and now the A-frame is up and running. So we have one fully functional vehicle. Just going through this process, look, I didn't even know this was a brake line. I didn't even know the axle went in there, and I didn't really know what this thing was, but I can tell you now, this is the diff breather jack, just in case, right?
So if we look on this side, we will see that we've got our brake drum, and we are missing a bit. And you can see where those bolts go in, and that's where the axle shaft will go into it.
Okay.
That goes into the diff, and that's where we get our movement for our wheels from the drive shaft, which is this part here.
Got it.
On that Nissan over there,
yep,
the A-frame,
yep,
we still have a good axle.
Yep.
This housing is good. So we know that there's no damage or anything. So we can put that axle, because it's from the same model, into this axle housing.
Why wouldn't we just get the axle off that and put it on there, that side?
Because the housing's damaged.
Ah.
Well, that's my concern. So if we, great idea, but we've done it before.
Yep.
And I'd like to preserve a good axle.
Yep.
This housing here, if we were to clean it up, we'd find that, you know, it hit the ground, not at pace, but we've got that needs reworking if we were to use it. And because the other one was taken out carefully.
Yep. That's a safer option.
The safer option. So we're not doing a full rebuild. So
okay. So we're going to go. It was
the too hard basket.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was too hard basket.
Good.
But what we have here is one that's broken. We have one that's been disassembled. And so we can see on the back here that there's the nuts. Yeah, we've got it. There's nuts here that we want to undo. And then we'll be able to pull the whole thing out.
Let's go through the stages. We take that tyre off.
Rattle this tyre off.
Yep.
Take that out.
Yep.
Have a look at what we've got happening there.
Yep.
We've got bolts on the back to undo.
Yep.
And then this whole housing, this whole axle will come out.
Yep.
We'll place it gently over there.
Yep. Then we'll take off the rest of the undercarriage.
Yep. Replace
it with the other undercarriage.
Yep.
Put the axle back on, put the tyre back on, and we're off to the races.
Duk, duk, duk.
Duk, duk, duk. I get it, I think.
I hope I get it as well. I also took the opportunity to give the minister a School of the Air hat.
Oh, good on you. That's great. That is great.
People like merch.
Yeah, they do like merch.
You know, and my confidence may be... I might just be throwing it out there. I think there could be an issue with the seal on this, seeing how we've got diff oil out here. See that movement we've got there?
But we don't care because we're getting rid of... Oh.
Yeah, this is the one we want.
Oh. But you're only using the axle. You're not using the diff. We're using the diff from the other one, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, we can only find out. We're going to have to do these by hand.
Okay. I'll get the spanner set. What size?
Oh, I do not know. I'm going to grab a wire brush. We've got our CRC or WD.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm really hoping that's it. Right. nice.
You want to try... Well, actually, that one's knackered, so we can just keep going the old way. There we go. That is an axle shaft that is not shafted. Yeah, we'll take those gaskets off because they will go back on. See that movement there? We shouldn't really have that. So what you would do in a Land Cruiser is you would tighten it from the outside without having to take all of this out. You just whip it off and give it a little nip up. This is a Nissan. You have to have a hollow.
That is the world's biggest socket.
It seems counterintuitive when someone else made a design that worked without having to naff around so much. And I guarantee that this one is not going to be the right size. Too big. This is the axle. And this is the nut we're trying to access to be able to undo it. I don't want to do it with Stilsons because I'm going to damage these nuts. Which would be pretty uncool. But we can see that we've got play and movement in there that we need to rectify. So we're going to have to knock that down and see if we can undo this nut. Alternatives, I'd be assuming these have a spline on them, like a stud, so I could always knock them out and we could then access this with a Stilson or a big spanner. I don't think we've got an adjustable that goes that big. We'll see how we go. Please fit.
Jack, it doesn't fit.
1 millimetre, he says. Not a problem, he says.
No, I think that's because that thing's in the way.
Does it look like it's touching at all?
Now have a look around the other side.
I reckon there's 1 millimetre difference between them.
I reckon you're right again, Jack. You've obviously done this before.
I have the punch.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll wash that. We've now got ourselves in a position where the bearing is seized on there. How do we get that? How do we free that up?
Then you have to undo these to get it from the other side.
That undoing the wheel studs, knocking the wheel studs out won't do anything.
Can see this here. This is hooked on here.
By that is what's holding it in. It should be able to come off freely. So you could try and knock this to try and free that thing up. We run the risk of damaging this.
What's on the other side in there?
That's the wheels where you put wheels on. So I've put the brake drum there, so our studs
see
on
that
it.
there. See that there.
You can't undo it.
You can't.
Heat it up.
It just doesn't. It just seems.
Well, that's seized on there. It shouldn't be seized on there, but it is. That's the unfortunate truth. That should be something that's free and easy to move
this
off.
is this. See here.
Yeah, that's the bearing.
No. This. See, I know this spun onto it, but does this spin? Does that spin as well?
Well, that's the bearings.
No, but I'm just saying the thing on top that's holding it in. Does that lift out by spinning it?
No. That's a bearing.
Oh, it's all one. It's all
yeah.
one bit of kit. Oh, I see. Just like your old skateboard bearings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That is one unit. Yep, I get it. But if we turn this upside down, okay, and just go a little, do you think it'll pop out?
Which way do you want to dong it?
This way.
Yeah. Well, we want to put something.
Yeah, like on wood.
Yeah. Now, should be noted, I have my
Doubts.
But so you want to, because the bit that you need to knock is this down. So would you not be better off putting this into the vise and knocking that down?
And tell me again, Jack.
Alright, so you hold this up in place, say in the vise that we have there, and you knock the axle shaft down.
Oh yeah, okay. Is this is it the inside bearing thing that's going to thing, or is it this thing?
It's the inside of the bearing that's seized onto the shaft. Now, so that should be able to not free move.
This inside thing here.
The bit that between the shaft and the rest of the bearing. Technical people will know what the name is, but I'm going to say it's the inside of the bearing.
Okay. Can I just give it one little knock?
You can give it a knock. Do you think anything changed?
No.
All right, we can give that a go. That's a hydraulic pump.
Okay.
And this is what's known as a flat jack because it's flat and it's a jack.
Okay.
So, Ed.
Yes. You want me to pump? I see there's a rubber lip in
Yeah,
there.
that's the seal.
You're right along, Jack, as usual.
Hey, nature's Loctite. Bearing. Go, get that housing out. We've got that seal to replace. That'll stop leaky from occurring. We've got this to tidy up, so the wire brush.
Yep.
I'd use the power tool.
Yep.
Got this to all tidy up. And then when we reassemble it, we are definitely going to be putting some of our thread ease onto it.
Yep.
To make that a little bit nicer. But that's convenient that we have a spare bearing and everything here.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
And I think that we can probably do it up to, our torque setting of FT with that Stilson, and that'll be that assembly back together.
That is awesome, Jack.
So this tool, the flat jack, once again, I have to say thank you to Danny Smith from Danny's Mechanical Services, because when we were doing the grader repair, he told me that I needed one of those for that job. And I thought, it's a little bit, just for one job. It's 2 jobs now.
That's right.
2 jobs.
It's a beauty.
Gets cheaper every time we use it, Ant.
What do you reckon, Jack? You see that? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, this is our new bearing. Now we can see that the bearing is in 2 pieces. So if you look on this on the other side, you'll see that it's a little lip there. So you just place this like that, and you just do small taps there, and then this bit will go back in. Because that's where the bearing will sit in like that. Yeah, this is the bit that goes against the shaft.
Jack's flown off to see another minister, and he said, look, while I'm away, just move this this thing here, the rear assembly, just move it under here, and move the other one out of the way so we can put it in there. Well, I tried to move it with the trolley, but the trolley doesn't go through the dirt so well, and it fell off. So I've gone for a slightly more extravagant plan, and I've brought in the big gun, the front end loader, which I have enough half knowledge now to be dangerous. I've even got the chains and I've hooked it on down here, and now I'm about to lift. Wish me luck. I'll turn the trolley jack around, I don't have to move it as far. After all that, let's see what the damage is. Well, I'll wait to see what Jack's got to say about that, but I think what's happened is when it dropped, because we got sump fluid in there, it's just poured out of here. I'm really hoping that's all it was. Anyhow, we'll find out soon enough.
We've been bumbling our way through fixing up a Land Cruiser, fixing up a Nissan. We can get parts here in Australia, down in Kalgoorlie, within a day realistically. But we have a question about some of these other brands and about their local support and ability for us to actually work on them. So let us know in the comments if you reckon that it would be wise that we look into seriously getting a Mahindra Pik-Up, or if you've got some other great ideas about what vehicles will survive in this environment. Because the real testament to everything is that 60 series Land Cruiser that's got 6 years on top of me, and she's still going. Her aircon works, the gearbox I might have stuffed up, but that can be fixed. The engine's still going. She is just solid. Now we want to know if there's anything else out there that is as durable as that and at an affordable price range. Would you guys be interested in seeing us torture test, or even not even torture test? It's just
Spec
testing. But the thing is, we aren't sitting here taking them out doing crazy four-wheel drive work. We're actually just doing work. So people who go and spec up a car, you can spec anything up to survive. We want to know if something is reliable enough off the shelf that we can fix when something goes wrong out in the bush. You know, no electric codes that are going to say, hey, you can't drive, because we're going to be hundreds of kilometers from home. That's one of the things we want to look at. We'll see if we can get some traction and actually get one up here to test it.
I think the other thing with that, Jack, is, you know, the bush telegraphs is pretty loud out here, so you can get a vehicle that worked under work conditions, like you say, instead of recreation, like you guys have put through all your Toyotas and Nissans and so forth, then it's a great testament to the ability for it to propagate in the outback of Western Australia.
But no one's willing to take that risk because there's just so much uncertainty.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Right, let's get into it.
Mate, I can't move this. So we've got to be careful with this because it does. So it's just
have you had it fall off on you?
Yes.
Okay, well, why don't you lower it?
All right, stand by.
And then...
we just drag it.
No, we get this side.
Yeah.
And I leverage on that wood there.
Yeah.
So, no, keep... You're going to drive the red thing?
Well, it's off the red thing now.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. Yep.
So you're in position?
Sort of, yes.
this stuff is just to create a little bit of a film. It's not a lubricant for anything other than, so just get in, yep, like that.
Don't damage the rubber. Looks half alright, Jack. Next part, out of the box. That sits in like that, Jack, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so then this one goes in this way and that towards the thing.
Yep.
Right, that's sort of... Now, I remember knocking this one out from the last one. It's probably got to go down to that lip, does it? Or how far in does it go is the question.
Well, it actually will have a point that it can't extend beyond. One might have almost suggested that before we knocked in the rubber bit, we should have knocked in the steel bit.
Yes. But what we can do in order to protect the steel is we could actually just hold this up on here like this.
Yeah, and gently tap it in.
Gently tap it in.
Yeah.
So we're not damaging the rubber.
And we'll put that same little fine film of lube over it again.
Okay. Does it just sit in like that? I think it does. I don't think we need to knock it in because I don't think it's going to go in any further than that.
We could do a video review, from the past.
Because I think that's... Because that's just sits... just a...
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily recommend hitting the bearing.
No, I was just showing everyone what not to do.
This is kind of the theme of this episode, is everyone, if you want to know what not to do...
Follow Ant. This goes in like this, am I right?
Yeah, it goes down.
Can I put it down?
You can put it down.
Okay. This is going to go, and there's our little...
That's our seal. Yeah, good.
All right.
Now, so what problem have we run into there, Ant? And don't push that bearing.
Okay, don't
push the bearing.
Okay, don't push the bearing.
In fact, lift the bearing up.
Uh-oh.
Right, so if I can get my hands on that bearing.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
we've got a thread here that we need to actually get access to. Now, this bearing sits below that thread,
Okay.
which means that that cup has to be all the way down.
I'll take the word for it, yeah.
Oh, no, I want you to understand.
No, I do, because I remember knocking this out, and there is a... I can see a... we think that it's going to go all the way down into that.
Well, this has to go all the way down into that because this has to be able to get the thread put on top of it, the nut, to hold it all in place. Because if this is sitting proud, there's no thread to go onto it. So this is just floppy, bang, bye-bye.
What's wrong with that? How bad can it be, Jack? This is your car, isn't it? Who's using this car? Now, Jack, there's got to be a smart way to do this. Be great to have like a ring exactly that size. We could just so have even pressure going
Wow,
down.
that'd be amazing.
Or
Where would we find one of those, Ant?
the previous one.
And
Oh
a
my.
piece of wood on top of it and a gentle tap, 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 and you...
Right.
Look at him.
Look at him go.
And
Look,
might even be a mark there from last time.
won't even be a mark there from last time.
Cut, take two. So it's got a nice amount of grease in the wheels, the pins, and I like to try and give them a little bit of a spin over so you can feel that it is actually in there. Give it a little bit of a push to see how much tighter it is than what it was before. You can see that that's grease that I've pushed from the other side all the way through. Now, the next part is I'll probably want to put a light lip of grease down there for this seal. So now it's time to grab this lovely reverse housing, and we've got the seal there, the amp put together, and they're tidied all up. So let's bring it down nice and gently. There we go. I'm going to say that that's a pretty decent seal, like it's actually stuck on there. I'm putting about close to 5 kilos force there, and that's not coming off. So I'm happy with that. So now it's time to bring our bearing all the way home. Feeling a bit like Indiana Jones before he lifts the gold in the Temple of Doom. I'm going to use a little bit of very fine encouragement since we cut it anyway. It'd be nice to have like a slide hammer over the top of this just to bring us in. All right, so she's up. My thread is exposed. Grab my rag to just tidy any damage there, any dirt and rubber that's fallen off as I've brought it in. Put our retaining washer in. Now, what we need to do is define or target our preload pressure, which is how much pressure we've got from that nut pushing onto the bearing, because that's a engineered specification, and that engineered specification is 360 foot-pound. So that means that for every foot, or 300 millimeters, you need to put in 360 pounds of energy. Now, we don't have the nut to do that, and we don't have a torque wrench to be able to translate that. So old school methods would be referring to the use of fish scales. Everyone would talk about fish scales because, you know, you can lift your fish easily and it will give you in your pounds or your kilos. And as you pull it, or the weight on it, it'll move like an old torque wrench. So this is an extremely old torque wrench. And what it is there's a connecting rod here, and that has a scale down here. It's very difficult to see it now, it's all faded and worn. But as you put in X amount of force as you're turning it, you can see that that scale is moving. And so that's how much pressure is being put on the end of it. So then with the fish scales, which were old ones, which, you know, as you go, the tension on the springs or on the rod would change. You'd use those fish scales and know how much force you need to put into it to achieve your goal. All right, so we're at 0. Now it's time to just see if I can get checked to see if I've got somewhere around 50 kilos of force on that. You. Don't beep at me. You know what? Let's just go for FT. That should be close to my force. We still have movement. All right. Let's call it at that. So, time to just jack it up a bit. Get those jack stands out of here. We're in good old neutral. Give it a glow. Glow's finished. Start. Ready. You might notice that it's missing its exhaust. But she goes.
When did you do that?
This morning?
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
You did the rest of it?
So how much do you trust my mechanic skills?
I can't believe it. How long did it take to put it together?
I had a couple of challenges.
Yeah.
One of them being getting my torque settings.
Yes.
Funny video.
Yes.
A lot of censoring.
Yes.
Which is good to go.
That's amazing. That is so good. All right, come on, let's go for a spin.
So we're just doing a test drive on our controlled circuit.
Yes.
The airstrip that Ant spent a bit of time last week getting to know.
Yes. It's got a nice gearbox. It's lacking a bit of exhaust.
It's pokey though.
It does. It's got a bit of go.
It's because they're a lot lighter than the Toyota.
Yeah, right.
So they will skip around a bit.
Yeah. And the good news is, Jack, we've only travelled 2 kilometres and the wheels haven't fallen off.
Well, I hope they don't do that again.
And show them the A-frame at the front there, Jack.
Yeah, let's.
So why do we have that?
So we have that A-frame, so we can hook this behind other vehicles and tow it out. So you can also put it behind the grader.
So it's pulling at the right height.
Well, no, that'll fall down.
Okay.
Like you can take that down and then you can pull it.
I
So you can tow it like a trailer behind the grader, get the grader somewhere, and then you can drive yourself home.
I was going to say that's kind of a high tow bar if it's up there.
Sometimes I really question your intelligence.
Yeah, this is great, Jack. This is great.
We'll have a look at our wheel that we're working on. Hopefully we can see it.
Yes, I like this one. This is a beauty.
The test is going to be when we get home. Like we've just done 1.3 k's up, 1.3 down, 800 metres back to the workshop.
Check all the bolts.
Well, not the bolts, but the temperature. The bearings temperature. See if it's warmed up. So if you grab the heat gun, zap it and check it. Laser infrared heat gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they existed, Jack.
Well, you wanted thermal cameras for spiders, and I thought that you don't need a thermal camera for spiders. You need a psychologist.
Yeah, Jack. You're gonna when you come to my donga one day and I'm dead, covered in spiders. You'll eat your words, Jack. Right, does the handbrake work?
It does.
Wow. And the doors work. Oh. Jack. Oh my God. That is so disappointing. So once again, so it's both Nissan and Toyota that we seem to have troubles with door handles.
They just don't want you to ever leave.
They don't want me to ever leave, Jack. Righto.
All right, so this is a infrared thermometer,
Yes.
and you pull the trigger,
Yes.
and it gives you a visual target.
Well, get your finger out of the way. Can I see that dot?
Yeah, you should be able to see that red dot.
Okay.
And so it's 31 degrees on the inside of that axle. You know, you can feel it. It's warm to touch.
And you're doing this because why, Jack?
If it's going to fail, it'll get hot. Like
The bearings.
The
because
bearings
we
will
put
get
the new
hot.
bearings in.
Yep, and because the bearings are sitting just on the opposite side to this,
Yep.
it'll be going through it. So 31 degrees there, and what we do is we compare the other side. And we're at like 24 degrees here. My concern was that I didn't get the torque settings right on the other side. Like I was worried that I might not have gotten enough weight into them. But this bearing has seated, so I am expecting it to warm up and then drop a little bit. I really don't want to have to go through that whole adventure again. We just keep an eye on it.
This is a gun rack.
Yep, so you can have close access to your rifle, and you'll see that it's set up that it's the barrel pointing out the door, so you've got that one swift motion.
As opposed to at your passenger jack. That's very magnanimous of you. I like it. All right. And you've done all the levels and everything, and of course you would have.
Yep.
Wow. So it's we now what do we now commission it? Do we
We just say welcome back,
just say welcome back,
old friend.
old friend? Yep.